Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today I am going to take the plunge and we are going to plant our first spring annuals in the containers here on the patio. Yes, I know that it is early March, but I looked at the 14-day forecast, the extended forecast. We have no freezing temperatures and it is going to be warm and mild, especially the nights. So I am taking the plunge. I am prepared to cover these plants if we get a hard freeze, which at some point I am sure we probably will. But I just can't handle it, and I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet, and I am going to do it. So we have the two western urns here on the patio that I'm going to plant up, and I'm going to do the a hay rack that is on the garden shed that is just over my right shoulder. So we're going to plant them in very similar styles so that they are all cohesive and they all go together. So let me show you exactly the area that we were talking about. It is an absolutely stunning day here in North Carolina, zone 8A. The cherry tree is blooming. That is the Okami cherry tree. The tulips are absolutely magnificent. This is Smooch Blend from Color Blends. And I mean, nothing but Carolina blue sky. Love it. And this is the warmest part of my garden. You will notice that Brenta is going to be panting today. She is a German Shepherd. She prefers extremely cold weather instead of warm weather. So we're all kind of going to be acclimating to the new weather conditions. The two that we're going to plant up here on the patio are these two western urns from Unique Stone. I've gone ahead and emptied them. If you remember from the fall, we did a little bit of a soil experiment on these two western urns, and then I had one more that was right over here. Went ahead and took that one out because I don't want to leave that there for the summer. I would say definitely overall, I still love the Proven Winners potting soil. Proven Winners was in this one. It was really a very close call on all three, how they performed. But at the heart of it, I just like Proven Winners potting soil best for me. I was thinking about it this morning, and I think it's kind of like potting soil for a gardener is very similar to your laundry detergent. And you're like, what? So we all have our favorite laundry detergent, right? Does it mean that one is better than the other? Probably not. They're probably pretty close to being the exact same. But I prefer my laundry detergent and you prefer your laundry detergent. I prefer Proven Winners potting soil. Maybe you prefer Espoma, and that's totally fine. Do what works in your garden, right? Be a student of your own garden. They are all cleaned out and ready to go. And the irrigation, I do have irrigation on these two pots. However, we're not running irrigation. So I will go ahead and make sure that these are all nice and in line. This is that brown drip tubing that have emitters every probably, it looks like maybe 8 inches. So we'll go ahead and set it up. So when the irrigation does get turned back on, they will be good to go. What we are doing, I am gonna do cool weather loving annuals. In the greenhouse, if you have been with us for our nursery tours, you know that the Aromanth mulberry nemesia is just blooming her head off. So that is what we are going to use. This is going to be the predominant plant in all three containers. It's a beautiful like plum colored flowers with that sweet little yellow throat. It kind of reminds you of a miniature snapdragon. And this does really well, especially for me in my cooler months. Now, we're going to put in the center, we're going to do the Bright Lights Horizon Sunset. You will notice that they are not blooming. There are buds on them, but they are not blooming yet. So we're going to just envision what it's going to look like, not what it looks like at the moment. And then finally, you will see that I have 3 of the White Knight alyssums. This is a sweet alyssum that is we're going to use those as a spiller in the hay rack at the garden shed. I'm not going to use them in this one because I really do not want to hide the urns. But with the hay rack, it's a great area to have a spiller, and we're going to switch it up just a little bit, right? They don't have to be completely matchy-matchy. We're just going to switch it up. These are cool weather loving plants. They can handle temperatures down into the 30s. Now, if I hit 25, 24, whatever, like a really hard freeze, which could very easily happen, I am prepared for that. What I can do is I can cover these containers I'll use like my burlap bags from Unique Stone that I save. I can use sheets, I can use beach towels, whatever, but I can cover these and protect these. It is worth it for me to do it in these 3 containers because this is such a high visibility area for us, especially right now. This time of year, we live on the patio because we can actually be out here during the day and not die from a heat stroke. So we enjoy this. We see it from the windows of the back of the house, and I am just itching to put in some annuals. Let's just be honest, I am, so I'm gonna go for it. So I'm gonna walk you through step by step what we're gonna do, and yeah, we're just gonna have a fun morning out in the garden here, getting some annuals in the pots. Yes, I love it. All right, let's get started. All right, my friends, so let's get to potting. Again, I have the Weston urns from Unique Stone. This is the dark walnut stain. People ask me that. I've got the irrigation in here. So for now, what we're gonna do is just kind of flop this out, and we're not gonna worry about it until the very end. I'm gonna pull out that. Okay. All Unique Stone containers have a nice big drain hole. If it's meant to be a planter, it has a drain hole. I get that question a bunch. So just know that it does have a drain hole. I use the method. I have done this for a couple of years. I read it in a magazine. It has worked amazingly well for me for a long time. Is that I take my compost, I have the land and sea, and I'm gonna put the bottom 1/3 of the container is gonna be filled with the compost. Then I'm gonna take my Proven Winners potting soil, and then I'm going to finish up and put the rest of that with potting soil. So that is the method that we do. It has worked amazingly well for me, like I said, for several years now, and I personally won't go back to doing anything else because having the compost in the bottom, when these plants, their roots hit the bottom and they hit that layer of compost, they are just so happy because it's a whole nother level of nutrition for them, and it just really extends the life of the plant, looking really great. And I use very little fertilizer in here when I use that method. So that's what we're gonna do. When I'm adding in my potting soil, I typically like to go below the lip of the pot. I know this is going to be on irrigation, but until we turn the irrigation on, and if I need to water it, I will come in here with the hose and just do it that way. So I don't like the soil to be too high because it always happens. You know, I think it happens to all of us. We put too much soil in there, and then when we go to water it, whether it's with a hose or the watering can, it overflows, and then the soil comes over and it just makes a mess. So I'm trying to be conservative on the slight side here. Next, we're gonna go ahead and add some biotone. I have historically not used biotone with my annuals. I did it last year when we put the Supertunia Mini Vista Whites here in the raised beds. Y'all, it made such a huge, massive difference. So this year, when I plant my annuals, perennials, shrubs, trees, anything, any plant that I am using, unless it's like a sedum, because sedums hate fertilizer, I am going to use biotone this year. We do have a wedding at the end of May, right here. We have the Signature Experience at the end of June. This gardens, all of the gardens are going to be really high visibility, not only for the videos, but people actually being up close and personal on these plants, and I need it to look top notch and just as best as it possibly can. So we're not gonna hold back, we're just gonna go for it, and we're gonna use all the good things. So I'm just gonna take my biotone, I'm just gonna sprinkle it on the top, and then as I plant the plants, that'll get worked in. You can always zhuzh it, as I say, and it doesn't have to be specifically right there at the roots. It will find its way to the roots, and the plant will find it and eat it up. Now, we are going to plant this more on the heavy side. You know, if you have watched me for any length of time, that I tend to be very conservative when I plant my containers because we have such a long growing season. And I plant for, historically, longevity, something to go through the entire season, not for it to look fabulous like pretty much right away. Well, guess what? I just told you we're hosting a wedding, so I need it to look, as I say, Disney worthy by the end of May. I need this thing to be like unbelievable. So I'm gonna pack the plants in here. If you're not hosting a wedding, perhaps you don't need to put as many plants in your containers as I am today. It's all about you, your garden, your space, the time that you have to put in it, your effort, right? Because there's seasons for all of us in our gardens, and this is going to be a very, very busy season, spring for us here, both personally and then, you know, here at the nursery professionally. So I want this to look unbelievably amazing. So I am planting this Disney style, because when I say Disney style, meaning that it's kind of over the top, looks amazing, very full, and not that it's perfect, because nothing is perfect, but it's close to perfect as I possibly can. I adore the Bright Lights osteospermums. These are African daisies. They look like a daisy, what you think of as a typical daisy. The Bright Lights Horizon Sunset is the newest one in the family, in the Bright Lights family. It is, maybe this is the second year. We trialed it when it came out, the year before it came out. Proven Winners, it sends us the new introductions and lets us take a whirl with them. I actually planted these Bright Lights Horizon Sunset in this very container, but I put a grass in it, like a purple fountain grass, and then I use these on the perimeter. Beautiful. They have colors of a sunset. There's oranges, there's pinks, there's yellows, there's plum. There is like all the colors that you imagine in a sunset is in this plant. I planted 3 of them in the dead center, but I planted them as if they were one. I put them root ball to root ball. I made them touch. I do not want them spread out. One, because I want it to grow and look like one plant. I don't want to see any spacing between it. 2, this urn is only so big, right? And so if I spread them out, then I wouldn't be able to put as many of the nemesias in here. Yeah, so speaking of nemesias, we're gonna go with those next. I am going to jam it in there, y'all. This is the Aromanth Mulberry. It too is a relatively new one as far as the Nemesia family, but it is, people will walk in to the greenhouse at the nursery and they're like, what is smelling so good? And I'm like, it's the Nemesia. It smells divine. It just, I can't describe the fragrance to you, because it smells like nothing else that I can really think of, other than it just has a lovely fragrance to it. The idea here is, as far as my design, is that the Nemesias are going to be all the way around the side. These will get to be 10 to 18 inches tall. Now in this container, I don't think they'll get that 18 inches tall, because 1 is in a container and 2, we're jamming them in here. So they're going to be competing for the other plants for the soil. So they're not going to reach probably that 18 inches that they would say if they were in the landscape and had plenty of soil for their roots to grow and expand. So what I'm going to do is just get these in here, because again, I want to have a ring of Nemesias and then have the Horizon Sunset coming out. They will intermingle together. It will be quite lovely. If you don't want to do the Horizon Sunset, another one that would be great here would be the Bright Lights Purple. And in fact, I was thinking about doing the Bright Lights Purple, and then I consulted my resident artist, our daughter Megan. She holds that title for me, and so I was like, okay Megs, what do you think? Should I do the purple, which is a really nice dark purple, so it would have that same kind of monotone look to it, and or the Horizon Sunsets? And she was like, oh no, definitely the Horizon Sunset. So that is what I am doing. We're gonna add a couple more in here, and then I'll meet you back here in just a second. All right, so this one is planted up. I wrap the irrigation around it. I have 3 little landscape staples just to hold it down. And then I just did a nice little thin layer of top dressing of the land and seed compost again. Really, it just, because there's so many plants in here, it just kind of hides any bit of the potting soil, and it hides the irrigation lines. Once these start growing, you're not going to see any of that soil or the irrigation lines. It is just kind of a little bit of a temporary fix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plant up the other one. Then when they're both planted, I'll come back and get them nice and watered in. Yeah, but envision it. Horizon sunset just coming out, intermingling with all the Aromanth mulberry. It's going to be gorgeous. And these are the colors that Alyssa's going to be using in her wedding. So this will coordinate quite lovely with the wedding colors and will look just gorgeous by the end of May. All right, let's go do another one. So the two urns are planted, they're cleaned up, and they are nice and well watered. So basically I can leave them alone. We're going to get consistent rain here for the next probably weeks and months, because that is just our typical late winter, early spring. So I'm more than likely I'm not going to have to hand water them. I'll just keep an eye on it. Remember, there's a lot of plants in there and they are containers, so you're going to want to watch your water level and how fast that soil dries out. We've moved over here to the garden shed, the old chicken coop, and I have this half circle hay rack here in front of this little window, and we're going to plant it up very similarly, just like we did the other one. So I have the cocoa liner is in, it is completely empty. I get all of my hay racks and cocoa liners from Kinsman Garden Company because of the quality. So typically when I would have like a cocoa liner, I would have to replace it every year because it was thin, and at this time of the year it had just completely fallen apart. I found that the ones from Kinsman are just the superior quality and will last me 3 years, possibly 4 years. So it is well worth it to spend that little bit of extra money, because in the long run it actually saves me money. So that's where I got these from, was from Kinsman. Same method. Bottom 1/3 is compost. Now you might be looking at this and you're saying, Jenny, you're in the shade. Well, I am. So it's interesting because the sun comes up directly behind the garden shed, comes over, and then sets directly in front. It moves even more when the as the season changes. So in the summertime, this spot gets the intense hot afternoon sun. It will be considered a part sun to full sun spot even here in late winter, early spring. So these plants will do just fine. As the season progresses, it will get more sun. It is only lunchtime. I think it's like maybe like 12:30, 1 o'clock right now. And so it'll get more sun, but it does, once it's in the sun till the very end of the day. Just keep that in mind. So this will be for me a spring / early summer planting, and then once the heat really hits, then these will probably not do as well in here, so I will pull them out and I will put something else in here. Last year I had the brand new Rain or Shine Caladium that's going to be new this year, and it was magnificent. So probably what I'll do is just put caladiums back in here, because the caladiums, hot, humid weather, they absolutely love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my bright lights, the Horizon Sunset in here, the Nemesia, and then I've got 3 of the White Night Sweet Alyssum. We're going to tuck in here. It's going to be very full and spill over. Today's project is complete. All 3 containers have been planted for spring, and oh my goodness, it feels so great. Jerry just came home, he was in town, and I was like, could you ask for a springier, happier, more vibrant, bright backyard? I think not. Oh my gosh, the tulips are just incredible. So let's come over here. We're going to pivot just a little bit. It gives you some perspective here of where the hay rack is on the garden shed, and everybody is nice and well watered, so they are nice and happy. It is going to be like in the 70s both today and tomorrow. So what I ended up doing is we have 2 of the osteos. So we've got 2 of them right here, 3 of the Aromantis mulberry. So we have 1 in each corner and then 1 in the center. And then I did 2 of the White Night Alyssums here in the front. So the spacing on the tag from Proven Winners for your alyssums is to be a foot apart. They are going to really fill in. I have found that White Night is perhaps the most aggressive of the lobularia, the sweet alyssum. And so this is going to fill in and be nice and full and spill over. Now, some of you may be wondering, because if you watch me, you know that when I do my annuals, I will put the time release fertilizer in there from Proven Winners. I did not do it this time because one, it's already in the soil. So when you have the Proven Winners potting soil, it's already in there. I use the biotone, and so that's like another great starter fertilizer. So I can come back in about a month and I can shake that down in there and add that if I so choose to. This would be a great candidate to use water-soluble fertilizer. So once I start noticing maybe a decline in growth, or I need the blooms to kind of, you know, pick up their pace a little bit, I can go ahead and start using that Proven Winners water-soluble fertilizer in here. Really, they say every 3rd watering, so that could be, you know, in the summertime, that could be every 3rd day or every 4th day. I typically do it like once every 2 weeks. If I can do it once every 2 weeks, then I feel really proud of myself and I feel really accomplished. And then the other 2 urns that you can see there on the patio, they are just going to be so happy and cheery. The tulips, y'all, I just can't. I've never done this many tulips in the backyard before, and I am officially addicted. I am hooked. It's just, you know, call me a sucker, I don't care, but to have this beautiful spring color here, and then the cherry tree is actually on her way out as far as her blooms. Okamis are like the very first ones to bloom. That is why we put it here, because it's in the backyard. We can see it from the house. We can see it when we're sitting on the patio. And to see this beautiful, lovely pink cherry tree blooming just does my heart good. And then you throw in tulips like this, and oh my heavens. Just to give you an idea, so that's the Okami cherry tree. In the berm we have Yoshino cherries. They're not even thinking about blooming. So that is how early this one is. So that really extends our bloom season, having both the Okami and the Yoshinos. And then the urns, there you go. nice and tight in there. So each of these urns has 3 of the osteos, and I didn't even count, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6 of the Aromanth Nemesias. That is jam-packed in there, y'all. If you were wanting to do this for long term, I would probably use 1, maybe 2 of the Bright Lights Horizon, and I think you could easily do just 4 of the Nemesias. Again, I'm gonna have a wedding reception right there. Jenny's got to step up her game. So you're going to notice when we enter into this season of planting in the spring and the summer, I am really going to chalk some plants in, especially here in the backyard, because again, the wedding reception is back here. We have the signature experience. It too will be hosted back here as far as the dinner will be in the backyard. So I need lots of big flower power. So I'm going to be adding lots and lots of plants to the garden. Annuals, right? So much fun. So if you are in those warmer zones like I am, now I know some of y'all are still in snow, and I'm sorry. Hopefully this gives you hope and doesn't make you jealous. Because we have dear friends that lived in Michigan for years and years and years. They're from the South, and then they moved to Michigan because of work. They're now in Texas. Love it. But I would send her pictures at Easter time, and we would be outside with the azaleas and like our little spring Easter, dresses, and her babies would be, in thick tights and sweaters for their Easter pictures. So I understand that how challenging it must be to see that we have beautiful spring and sunny, and I'm actually kind of sweating a little bit today, and you may still be in snow. Just know spring is coming. This is meant to encourage you and not to make you envious, because that is not my goal whatsoever at all. Just know that spring is coming, and when it does, just soak it up, as I know you will. All right, my friends, it is lunchtime. I'm gonna go get some lunch. Brenda's gonna get some water, and maybe even go for a little bit of a ride. You ready to go for a ride? Oh, she is. That girl, she understands English really well, let me tell you. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Bye, friends. Let's go. You ready to go for a ride? Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Get in, Johnny. Let's go. In you go.